on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Wyking Garrett. Now, this brother is going to tell us about some history of black folks within the state of Washington. They are trying to get everything together to form Africatown, which is something great. We need it all over the U.S. So, Wyking, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me, brother.
All right, brother, could you explain the history of how African Americans got into the state of Washington? Because we know that during the transatlantic slave trade, many of us came through the East Coast and kind of stayed majority in the southern regions. Then we had the Great Migration that happened due to white supremacist terrorism. So can you explain just kind of how we got over there, possibly?
Definitely. Well, blacks have been was actually part of founding Washington State. It was actually a black man by the name of George Washington Bush, who was one of the original pioneer settlers. That didn't name it. They didn't put his image on the state, but that was from the beginning. And specifically, when we're dealing with Seattle, which is the area that has had the largest black population. A black pioneer by the name of William Gross came here in the 1850s, 1860s, and established, he bought 12 acres of land in what is the central district of Seattle, and then began to partition his land off for other blacks to settle. The actual very first resident of Seattle, black resident, was a man by the name of Manuel Lopez. He was from Cape Verde, so off the coast of West Africa. So the black presence from, inception has been one of the diaspora. But after that, so this was before Washington was even a state. And then around World War II is when you had the larger migrations of blacks, such as my grandparents, came in from the South, fleeing the, post-slavery sharecropper society that was hostile and filled with terrorism and aggression, and striving to limit our freedom and ability to live and enjoy a decent quality of life. And so many came around the World War II era because of Boeing, drive for jobs at the Boeing airplane factory. And that is, they also settled in the central district primarily as there were housing covenants. So as they left the Jim Crow South, they met Jim Crow's cousin here in the form of restrictive housing covenants, which limited the areas where blacks could live, buy, rent, and have businesses.
So when they got over there originally, let's say even back 130 years back, okay, was it more Native Americans there than white folks? I'm just trying to get an understanding of the population.
Yeah, so throughout the 1800s, the Native American genocide was actually taking place. And so by the time when blacks arrived, there was a larger population of whites, especially as blacks began to arrive in significant numbers to actually have a population.
Okay, so they basically got their numbers up by slaughtering a group of people.
The Europeans.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Definitely. That's the story of of Western Hemisphere.
Well, that just listen to that, just so sick. So now you look at it today, and it is Seattle is kind of definitely a big tech hub today. You have a lot of your liberals over there, that's for sure. How is that working out for the black Americans? Because, we've been seeing a lot of things happening as of recent when it comes to African Americans. They say the, Democrats and the liberals are our friends, but yet at the end of the day, black folks don't get anywhere with them. How is it that the support that they say they have for black folks, do you see that materialize in Seattle?
What we see here is a very good marketing, right, of image of inclusiveness and so-called progressive and liberal, because the black community has been decimated, and so if this this particular political group is supposed to be more favorable to us, then we would see our communities actually growing and prospering. And we do not see that happening at every quality of life indicator, statistics. We see blacks, on the bottom, from education to home ownership, business ownership, health indicators, and all of these things. So I cannot say that we are faring better, though this is also a very rich, resource rich in terms of wealth. Here you have significant billionaires, millionaires of tech going on. There's more cranes here in Seattle, they say, than anywhere else in the country and possibly the world. So, and there's no equitable participation in that. And so if these are really our so-called friends, it's hard to tell. And, with friends, as they say, with friends like that, who needs enemies?
Right.
And so what we're doing is challenging that, because if this is supposed to be a city that is some type of model of any type of equity or inclusiveness or progressiveness, then we have to definitely disrupt this status quo here, because it doesn't project a positive image for the well-being of blacks anywhere if this model as it exists is being exported.
And you talking about even like the tech jobs, because they talk about a lot of those tech jobs over there in Seattle. Blacks, they don't get as many of the tech jobs, correct?
Oh, it's very low representation in the tech workforce, and even those numbers are coming from, you look at an Amazon, and they may post some numbers, but most of those numbers of black people are probably in the warehouse and security jobs and things of that nature, rather than in the high wage software development, business development, and things of that nature. So we have not benefited. Actually, the tech growth in the tech industry has primarily been a force for the gentrification and ethnic cleansing of our historic neighborhood and community.
And gentrification in black areas, because I think maybe a year or two ago, we had talked about a story out of Seattle, and they had a historic black neighborhood. I mean, the people been there at least 70 years or more, and they was being gentrified, and the people that's coming in, they being racist toward the black people. You know the neighborhood I'm talking about?
That's all. There's only one historic black neighborhood in Seattle, and that's the Central District, or Africatown, as we see it and project it and are building it. And yes, there has been a great amount of displacement through various public and private sector policies and practices, from, as I mentioned, from redlining to divestment to bringing the drugs in and to predatory lending, and kind of finally now the tech growth coming in an inequitable manner is accelerating that displacement.
So do you believe it's a concerted effort to push blacks out nationwide? It seems like that way to me.
Nothing happens by accident or chance. So if you see the same phenomena happening in many different places at the same time, there has to be some concerted coordination happening on both the public policy side and the private sector practices working together to execute.
I plan on visiting, Seattle sometime next year. It'll be my first time going. And I definitely would like to see, the Africatown or the historic areas of myself. But, I've talked to many people who live there, and even a lot of people that I've known left Seattle and came to the South. Do you feel that those areas are still something that we should fight for, or we should maybe consider those trends now of we having like what they call a reverse migration to the South?
Well, I think both. When we think about, the global economy, and, this is a port city, Pacific Rim is a, significant city in relationship to the economy. And so I think both are viable in terms of, if we are going to be here in any place, then how are we going to exist in those places? And that's part of the work that we're doing around Africatown is, developing our community development, toolkit or model that can be built upon in other places, because we are experiencing the same things in many different places. And so we see, Watts, Compton, Harlem, all these places are, Third Ward in Houston. This is Africatown, but because anywhere there's a community of Chinese outside of China, what is it called?
Yeah, Chinatown.
Right. It's an automatic connection with their mother country, their culture, their heritage, and even economic ties. And we see that with many of the groups. And even the fact that, New England, New Hampshire, New Orleans, like there's a direct connection to the land that people came from. And with us, we have this disconnection, and we know that that disconnection between the diaspora and our motherland is something that benefits others and does not benefit our interests. And so we're looking at how do we bridge those gaps. Here in this community, we also have a large community of East Africans, Somali, Ethiopian, Eritrean. And so when we look at Africatown, it's the embracing all of our diaspora, Caribbean, Afro-Latino, Afro-Brazilian, right? And how do we build on that from an asset-based community development strategy? Look at our strengths and riches, because our communities, our spaces that we accommodate are often, what would you call, defined by deficit. So the Black community is the hood, the ghetto. Africa's the dark continent. It's famine. It's civil war. There's always a negative connotation, and so we have to redefine, our spaces as being places where one, the humanity started, and two, as we've come to this continent and hemisphere, the resilience and what we actually developed, and we are the ones that built and brought the culture and the soul to this society as well. And so, how do we take our assets, our riches, our intellectual capital, and begin to really use it for our benefit?
Right, and I feel, part of what we do here, we have this Building Bridges initiative that, we're working with Dr. Mumbi, and, we're trying to join, people throughout the diaspora, just for that very reason, because we don't have a connection. We're like alone here. You talk about Chinatown, they still have the Chinese government that'll speak up for them if they start dealing with what we're dealing with here. Everyone have a home country to say something. When it comes to us, we're stuck out. So, when I went to Ethiopia and saw the, reception of us there, and how they want, us to not only be there, but, also do business with them. Because they also talked to me about that. I think that's would help us more if we can connect with the continent and do business that way. Because if we had that base in the continent, then we could kind of have a little backup here and there, at least economically, if we can connect, like maybe import, export, or different other businesses that they maybe have. There could be opportunities here in America.
Absolutely, and we know that there has been an intentional effort to, basically divide and conquer to keep us separated. We know that Africa is one of the is the richest continent. It's resource rich. There's abundance of opportunity, and us being here for the through this experience, we have been behind building a society in many ways, running behind the scenes, running the government, behind the scenes, powering many of the corporations. And so but that brilliance that we have here, where is it brought to bear for our own benefit, for the development of our own communities and interests? And so I think the knowledge base, as one of the most educated populations of Africans on the earth, if we can connect that with the land base, as far as Africa being resource rich around, shared values, of mutual interest. We don't want to become, exploiters and take that back there, but we can come together for our common interest, growth, and development.
Yeah, I think we should do that, because we become part of the global, African economy, and the global African system within ourselves. I mean, I've heard stories about some Black folks be on this Americanized attitude. They think they're better, but we're not talking about those people. We're talking about individuals who, like you said, who just want to come with working together, humility. Even with people within, I believe you could start probably right in your city. So you got Somalis, you got Ethiopians, and who else is there that you mentioned?
Those are the largest. I mean, there are smaller populations of, West Africans, but the largest population is very large. It's probably the third largest populations of East Africans in the country. And so, again, being in, proximity creates opportunities to build relationships, right? And yeah, I did visit, made a trip to Ghana or West Africa earlier this year, and the brothers there and the sisters, they were very interested in really just waiting and want to see black that are here getting involved there. They have, obviously, the Europeans are there and the Chinese are there, and they're saying, well, where are where are our brothers, in America coming to take it, work with us to build.
Right, because they told me in Ethiopia, they said, listen, we rather work with you guys, African Americans. We don't want to deal with them. They said, we had all you guys to come over and do business with us, that those who can. We said, we would love to just not do anything with the Chinese or the whites or anybody,
And then when you think about
and
that over $1 trillion in spending power that we hear about so often, and what they say, I think what, the ninth or 10th largest country in some concept based on that spending power. If that was directed to more productive means and strategically connecting with the continent of Africa, there would be definitely much opportunity for us to both improve our positions.
And then some people, African Americans, they when they hear us talking like that, like, oh, I ain't trying to go to North Africa. We're trying to build right here. Like, well, you can still walk and chew gum at the same time. We can go build something there and build something here, and they can work together.
Yeah, why do we want to limit our children's options to the glass ceilings that have been, put around and enforced here when the whole world should be their opportunity and they can participate effectively in the global economy through their own African diaspora, dealing with people that, that have some of a shared experience.
Right, and I believe all of us should have an African contingency plan, even just to, I say try to see you can at least, work on the situation where you can get you some land, get you a home, something, because, the way this country's going, you got these folks are fighting each other constantly. Trump, he losing his mind in there. Like I said, I really don't. When I went to Ethiopia and came back, I'm like, look, that's them. I ain't involved with their mess. I'm only gonna worry about what's going on with us. And just the way things going, like I said, I don't see nothing good out of it. So we better really think, about Africa a little bit more than what we thought before.
Agree, 100%. And so again, with Africatown, it's really, creating that platform where we can engage, in that way. And again, build those relationships so that when you do travel, you'll be received by, extended family rather than just going in as a foreign, factor, right? Because you've already built real relationships wherever you are, because we do share. We are in some of these cities in these areas together. We may not be connecting yet, but that's where we have to begin to improve and break down the barriers, because obviously they give us one program, they give them another program, and the point is to really keep us apart.
Right, and that's what it's all about. Like unification, like say, more building, bridges with it, here in America. Also something I was going to pay attention to, and I was going to start addressing a little bit more, is that you have a lot of different people from Africa here, and some of them, they get in their own little corners, and they don't really, unify too much unless the police beat somebody up. So we need to also, as you stated, since you're already here, let's go ahead and unify here, and then we can also connect, throughout the diaspora.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. I mean, this is just the same work that, Marcus Garvey started and Kwame Nkrumah. So this is not new. It's just renewing it, for our current time and doing what we can to add our bricks and push things forward. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. The internet, technology has definitely opened the world or shrunk the world in ways that we can communicate and be in touch and work together much more effectively and efficiently than even before. But again, we have to leverage these tools for their most productive means and to serve our interests. And I think what you said was important. We need to think about ourselves, because if we're not thinking about ourselves and our future, then who is? And if somebody is, it's probably not in our best interest.
Right, and for me, like I said, some of the last straws of all these things we've been seeing with our children in schools, if they're not dealing with, being called racial names, you have teachers trying to put dresses on our little boys, and then they act like it's a problem that we say something. I say, listen, we gotta figure this thing out real quick because things are getting way out of hand. So brother, could you tell people how to get in contact with you in case they want a little bit more information on Africatown and what's going on with the Black community in Seattle?
Sure. And a couple of things I just would like to, highlight as related to, what are we doing? It's a concept, but how are we making it real? How are we materializing it? How is it, know, being crystallized in key pieces is that we have Africatown Center for Education and Innovation, which is focused on, developing and implementing education solutions for lifelong learning in our community. We have a co-working space and incubator called Black Dot, which is where I'm at right now, presently broadcasting from. And well, we formed a community land trust, Africatown Community Land Trust, to acquire and develop land to actually keep our community present. And that is through the process of creating affordable housing and commercial space for our businesses. So these are, some of the solutions or tools that we found were going to be necessary to begin to build the future. And then we have significant planning. So we started a planning, Black Seattle 2035, in which the Africatown vision has been and plan has been, community development master plan has been taking shape. And that includes, even designing the built environment to be more reflective of who we are, our lived experiences, and not just, kind of taking the leftover where we fit in someone else's community. And so I think we have to, imagine, we've had a campaign, Imagine Africatown, just to say, again, to open up the mind, what would a community that is designed and built based on the best of our experience, so inspired by Egypt or Kemet, Timbuktu, Black Wall Street, Harlem Renaissance, again, the Afro-Caribbean, Marcus Garvey, what does a community look like that those are the reference points that we're building into the future for, and so that, is kind of a summary of where we're at right now. And everything we're doing, we're just striving to learn, share, and see how it can be improved, because with the smaller population that we have here, we think these things can be much more impactful where there are currently larger communities of people of African descent. So yeah, they can follow Africatown Central District on Facebook, Africatown SEA on Instagram and Twitter, and then AfricatownSeattle.com is the web platform. And so people can keep up with what's going on and get in touch and let's connect with similar efforts. We know we have been in contact, and I must say this, the original Africatown was established just in Mobile, Alabama, by Africans who were kidnapped after slavery was made illegal, and they were still trying to smuggle in.
You was speaking about earlier, you was giving out your information to your social media, and you were speaking about the first Africatown in Alabama you started talking about?
Yeah, so should I do the information over, or
No, I think we got the information.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I must speak about give some history about the original Africatown, which is there in Mobile, Alabama. Was established in the late 1850s by Africans who were had been kidnapped after slavery was made illegal in the U.S. It was always a crime against humanity, as we know. But they were this last ship. They say that the last slave ship was called the Clotilda, and when the Africans were discovered and they achieved their freedom, they could go back home. So they settled a community, and that was the original Africatown. Uh, and that community is struggling for their self-determination right now, to be recognized, to build, doing their community development plans. And so we're in communication with that, those doing that work on the ground there, as well as some other places we've been down to Houston and some other cities where this can, the Africatowns are already there, but they are being gentrified and cleansed of our people as we speak.
My wife has said something one day. You speaking about kind of how they coming into the black areas and really building them up. And my wife was saying, what people should do in the community, the people who can definitely can afford that, just to make a concerted plan to go flood the neighborhood again. The ones that can afford all that, they raising the prices up, and then take back over the neighborhood and then put it back, where it could be affordable, because they price it up, so we can't do that. You get what I'm saying? But we got people in our community who can afford to do that. And
Right.
I know that would be an awesome plan to do. Like, it have to be like something you talk about behind closed doors and not on social media. 'Cause, some of us discuss too much on social media some of the plans of the community, and that's why I tell people now. I say I'm not saying certain things on social media no more. I said, look, we want to have a meeting, closed door, no cell phones, and talk about the community. We can do that. So, brother, I thank you for joining us today and giving us that information that was going on in Seattle. Like I said, when I go up there, probably in some months, I definitely want to go see what you guys got going on and break bread with you and get that info.
Thank you. We look forward to having you come and visit and connecting further.